better insurance.
Hello everybody, this is PI Help with another video. This time we're going to be discussing the perils of self-defense shooting. Well now, you have to understand the perils of self-defense shooting because of the different court and the mood of the court and the different aspect that goes into it once the indictment is actually handed down. So these are some of the parts that is actually influence the outcome or the perils of self-defense shooting. So let's take a look at it. One of them is the mood of the court. Then we have the judge, the DA, and the jury. The congressional district is basically about 750,000 individuals within a congressional district. The DA district is approximately about 100,000 to 1 million. In Manhattan, that's why we call it sometimes the Manhattan judgment, it is it's possible up to 1 million. So the jury actually comes out from the congressional district and the DA district. So, what else we have here? Well, the jury is very important, especially the Facebook. Because a smart lawyer has investigators, and what will happen is that the jury will be based upon or selected upon perhaps on the Facebook. What is their certain opinion on certain subject matters? It is very important because the jury is going to be influenced prior the assembly many times with, yes, the justice media. The justice media is going to put a spin on it. The spin on it is going to be amazing. They're going to possibly speed up, or they're going to slow down, or they're going to edit it. The videos. You're going to have more videos coming out than you know what to do with. The simple reason is today, everybody wants to be in a TikTok. And then what happens is they rather call TikTok, or are they going to be calling 911? No, they're going to be recording it and they're going to put them on TikTok. So hopefully that their video is going to go viral. It is not that the individual that is actually perhaps got shot and called 911. No. What they are doing is they're recording it. I mean, to me that's a little bit well, I don't want to say it because this is a YouTube video. So the DA actually hammers, for example in Manhattan, that a gun is actually a privilege, an incredible privilege in Manhattan. And actually in Manhattan, in the jury is actually hammered into their heads before it's even assembled. Well, that's a separate issue. So, but the outcome and the influence. The judge is very important also. Why? Because when the jury is going to convey at the end of a trial and they're going into deliberation, he has to instructions to the jury. The instructions usually to the jury may sound something like this. The defendant do everything in his power to avoid the deadly self-defense use, or use of deadly self-defense. Whoa, that's a key term right there. Possibly. Could he have done something else? And in the Manhattan justice, that's exactly what's going to happen. Then you have another aspect of it, it's called a clean hand, the instigator and a provocation. You cannot be an instigator or a provocation. What do I mean by that? Let's say you're in a bar It's very common to go to the bar. You go to the bar, you have a couple of drinks, and this gentleman is sitting at the bar, and you nod your head, how you doing? And he says, don't bother me, I'm having a day. Okay, that means just don't bother the gentleman. Don't try to be a psychologist, because it may not end well. Don't be a psychologist. You're not a psychotherapist in a bar. Yeah, I have seen it. So, don't be an instigator or a provocator. Once that's done, don't go home. Go back, because you wanted to be a psychotherapist. Go home, get your gun, go back, because now you just forfeited your right for self-defense. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Leave it alone. Let it go. Don't go home for a gun. Don't go back. Don't do it. It's not a good idea, because you're going to go to jail. Proportional, man and a woman, or multi-attackers. Well, the man and the woman, the proportionality is being disappearing quite a bit today. For example, if you really look at the marathon between a man and a woman, the world record. The world record is, matter of fact, it was just broken by a woman, 2 hours and 10 minutes. Back in the 1980s, 1990s, if you were a marathon runner, you're a woman. If you're a 2 hour and 30 minutes runner, you're basically considered a world-class runner. For the male, amazingly, it was about 2 hours and 15 minutes. But now the male is actually under 2 hours. So the 15 minutes still exists between a man and a woman. I'm talking about strength-wise. No, I disagree with fighting in a ring between a man and a woman, or mixed matches. I mean, no, I don't. If you, no, don't do that. So the proportionality between a man and a woman, obviously, it's actually on a woman's side. Multiple attackers, that's a separate story. Let's say you're in a staircase, and in a staircase you have a up and a low, and two individuals at the bottom and two individuals at the top. One has a knife, one of a baseball bat, and a chain, God knows what, and perhaps one of the individual has a hand, but you don't really see it because it's in a pocket. Make believe that he has a gun. Now if you're a great shooter, and you're in a competition shooter also, obviously you can shoot your way out of it. That's multiple attackers, proportionality thrown out on the window. But you have to make sure that you're a great shot, okay? So that, and use your head and use your brain. Another portion of it is duty to retreat on the street. There are some jurisdictions that you have to retreat from on the street. Make your most effort to retreat, providing you can safely. That's the key term. Providing you can do it safely. In the castle doctrine, in the United States, there's no such thing as duty to retreat. Yes, when you shoot the individual, make sure that it's inside the house, preferably. Inside. And if you do shoot it and a person runs out, hopefully the DNA actually stays in the house. Let's say some portion of the body. Now, ability and opportunity is your next one. The predator and the prey. We discussed it here on the staircase. Predator and the prey. The ability and opportunity is incredibly important. Do they have an ability to do bodily harm? Do they have the opportunity, and not just the ability, but the opportunity? That's between a predator and a prey. Don't forget, human beings do not have instinct. And I had this discussion with quite a few people. No, human beings do not have instinct. The instinct is an inborn DNA aspects of it. Human beings, the reason we do not have one, and only animals do, have instinct because it is inborn in the animal. The human being is a reasoning individual. Now, the higher the reasoning capability, the lower the instinct, and it regresses to reflex. One more time. Reflex. Regress to reflex. Now, intuition we do have. On the prey and on the predator side of it, let's take a look at the role of a dog. Well, I had dogs for 20 years, and I had a Doberman Pinscher, and a Doberman Pinscher, when my mother was cooking the steak, the Doberman Pinscher was smart, sat right at the stove. No question, didn't move. I want my piece of steak. End of a story. So, a smart dog you can teach perhaps 600 words. Some individuals think it is a whole lot more. Well, I'm going to be sticking with 600. If you have a dog that understands maybe 600-700 words or 800 words, I have no quarrel. I haven't seen it, but it has been said. But they don't have the intuition and they don't have the reasoning capability to that level of a human being, even a smart dog. So I'm going to leave that alone from here on. That's why we have intuition. Intuition is a completely learned behavior. Now, with all this ability and opportunity, the prudent and reasonable man rule. It's called imminent. This is important. Imminent. That means the attack or your life is in danger imminently. Right there and then. Seconds, sometimes seconds, is the time span that can actually happen things. Okay? Now, this one is being actually a little bit challenged in the courts. Ouch. How far they will go with this imminent, I do not know. Then we have public opinion. Evidence does not match public opinion. Social justice in the media. They can speed it up, they can slow it down. So does the DA. They take advantage of it. Why? Because usually that is a stepping stone perhaps to a higher political agenda. For example, Giuliani, New York DA, mayor. All right? So, it can be considered a stepping stone. So, the more conviction they will get, let's say, or they're able to deliver, let's say in a murder case or in a self-defense shooting case, and they can prove it that it is not a self-defense shooting, but it's a meditated murder. That's why I don't go back. Don't do it. I mean, just don't do it. Don't be a provocator or instigator. Don't do it. And that's why they call it in New York the Manhattan Justice. That's what it is. Manhattan Justice. So, social justice media, a way they spin a couple of things in Florida, you don't have to do that. No, they spin it. Don't do that. One is a command, the other one is a suggestion. It is not the same. They will spin it, slow it down, speed them up, leave certain very important words out. That's what we call social justice, right here. As we're moving along, I have this little chart right here. Let me set it up. Media justice, yes. Okay, let's straighten it out. Okay, this particular chart has all 50 states has wrongful death statute. Now, wrongful death statute is actually in the circuit court, state circuit court. Reasonable doubt, that's the standard. Now we have three different court systems here. Basically, there are some overlaps here, which I'm not going to get into, but what we have here is a small claims court. Burden of proof is number one. State circuit court, wrongful death. Number two, which is reasonable doubt. Number three, circuit court, felonies and major cases and murder. Number three is beyond a reasonable doubt. So those are the three major areas that we're going to be discussing. We also have here looks, view and belief. Looks, view and belief, that means an individual actually looks, views and believes was actually on the channel, on the media channel. And that belongs to the social justice media. This actually has no burden, should not have any burden on the wrongful death or any one of these court systems. But they try to spin it, and yes, with artificial intelligence, they can make it look like view, and when people view it and actually believe it. Now, I mentioned it earlier that the DA up here, they try to use it as a stepping stone for political office. Well, actually, on this whole area, we do have one individual, Kamala Harris. She was a prosecutor and actually went all the way up to the vice presidency. So, but this actually has nothing to do with this end of it, or should not, I repeat, should not have anything to do with it. So let's look at it, a small claims court. The small claims court in Florida is preponderance of evidence. There is a small amount of evidence. Some individuals put it at 51%. For illustrative purposes, I put it at 55% because it's better visualized. The second one is a state circuit court, is a wrongful death. Wrongful death is actually right here, reasonable doubt. That is a very high standard, but not the highest standard we have. The highest standard we have is in a murder case, which is also tried in a state circuit court, felonies, major cases and murders. And that's beyond the reasonable doubt. And I placed it at 95%. So reasonable doubt is 75%. Beyond the reasonable doubt is actually 95%. So let's look at it in a real trial. Just illustrative purposes. What we have here is we had one very, very famous case in California. And the beyond the reasonable doubt actually was rebuffed about 30%. Okay, when it was rebuffed 30%, how was it rebuffed? Well, it was very simple. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. And it was an incredible, brilliant rebuff of the state murder case. And from then on, the whole entire case just fell apart on the state side, completely, which was absolutely brilliant. And I followed that case in the media as much as possible. I mean, I was actually on it. So because it was only rebuffed 30%, all 50 states have wrongful death, and yes, he was convicted, which is actually a financial burden. That individual was actually convicted on a financial burden because he was not able to prove from anywhere from all the way up to 50%. So let's look at this a little bit closer. What does that mean? 50%. If you're only able to rebuff it at 30%, wrongful death can play a role in there. But if you're more than 50%, wrongful death case will not come into the picture. So how is that done? Well, let's say 3 o'clock at night, they break into your house. You have 4 individuals. Well, you shoot one of them, survives. One of them actually dies, either on premises or outside or actually in the hospital on the way. The conviction comes down because the ham sandwich burden, you are actually in the criminal court system. Now, on the state side, the proof is actually on the state. beyond a reasonable doubt. On a self-defense shooting is actually reversed. The burden of proof is upon you, that you had actually no other choice, but you are in your right to use deadly force. When they break in 3 o'clock in the morning, I mean, they're not coming for church collection. You know? I mean, just let's be honest about it. So, that's why I bring that up. It's a hypothetical situation. So what happens if you're able to rebuff that whole idea? 50% wrongful death will not actually come into the picture. It will be completely rebuffed. So that the burden of proof is actually reversed. The burden of proof is actually upon you, not upon the state, that you had no choice but. There were some other cases actually in other statutes, not just only in a self-defense case, that the burden of proof is upon you. Actually, also in disability cases, many times in disability cases, actually the burden of proof is upon you, which I will not touch. I just only mention that. So Locke's view and belief system. Belief is actually terminology of the belief system. Is you accepting it without proof or without scrutiny. That's the definition of the belief system. And a lot of individuals fall into this particular trap. You cannot fall into this particular trap, especially in the murder cases or in a self-defense shooting. No, you cannot fall into this particular trap right here. Because if you do, you will be either going to jail or you will be convicted on the wrongful death, which all 50 states has them. Some of them had a higher standard, some of them had a lower standard, some of them, if you're not convicted in the criminal, this is actually crossed out. But let's just look at it in this particular fashion. You have to prove 50% right here, 50%, that it is actually you are in your right to use deadly force. As we're moving along, gun modification. All right, I'm going to take out my gun. This is a loaded gun. It is not empty. So, what are the modification? Modification, optical sights. Optical sights are okay because it's just about everywhere. Optical sights. Now, what about trigger pull? The trigger pull and a hammer. Well, you can actually put a lighter trigger by changing the hammer spring. Well, if you have very sensitive, that you can explain, but leave it alone if you can. If you can't, then go to a reputable gunsmith, a very reputable gunsmith, and have the spring changed here. If the curvature of the trigger right here, curvature, it is actually more curvature than your fingers can handle, yes, you can place a flatter trigger in there. Now, be careful, okay? Lights up here. I don't like lights here. The reason for that I don't like lights is that I was in a situation. And wherever you point a gun, that's where the light is going to go. Now, I like the light in my hand. The reason for that, I was in the apartment and we had to remove an intruder in the apartment. Actually, it was a squad. Actually, it was an older lady. So I had a light in my hand, and what happened is I didn't point a gun at her, and I just asked, do you have a gun on you? Do you have a weapon? Anything? And I shined the light on her. So this way I didn't have to point a gun at her. And I said to her, I don't want to point a gun at you. So when I checked the apartment, what happened was I found a lot of food there. I said, uh-oh. So she was a squatter, she was a homeless person. I said, okay. So I told her, I said, listen, was I right or was I wrong? It doesn't matter because that's what I did. Listen, I'm leaving at 11 o'clock. You can't come back for your food that is actually stored. I'm leaving 11. I will not be here. Whether I was correct or not, it depends who you ask. Morally, I think I did the right thing. That I said, I'm leaving and you can come back later when I'm not here at 11. Now, with the gun modifications, you can have a lot of other modifications. You can have, for example, trigger, not just only the trigger, but also the firing pin. Don't Mickey Mouse with that. Just don't do it if you don't have to do it. Don't forget, this is a carry gun. This is a 380, by the way, 380 kilo. Is the 380 qualifies a carry gun? The answer today, the answer is yes, it does. Other modifications on a gun, for example, on a Glock. Oh boy. Trigger. Don't do it. Don't make sure that Glock is not automatic, because in California they're trying to restrict incredibly the Glock. Don't do it because it can be converted into automatic. So don't do it. One more thing that I would like to mention in here on the public opinion. It influences incredibly the trial and the jury. Don't forget, the jury comes from the individuals that make up the congressional district and the DA district. That's where they come from. And actually, they can be influenced, especially in Manhattan, especially when it's beaten into your head. Down in Florida, where I am, we just got an open carry. Now I'm going to say a few words about that, open carry. I personally, if you're on open carrying, let's say a AR-15, don't do it. Automatic shotgun, why? A 380 if you want to carry a 9mm, if you want to carry a 1911, full-size military 1911, 5-inch, I have no quarrel with it, but be smart about it. Don't go into the bar, you know, look at me, like for example this individual that actually went back. Don't do it. It is prudent and reasonable man rule doesn't do things like that. Oh, and one more thing. Yes, we have this one. Pay attention to the gun-free zone. But it's gun-free zone, be polite. Yes, sir, I'm leaving. Even if it doesn't say on the door that it is a gun-free zone. Don't do it. Just be polite and leave. Or take your gun, put it into a glove compartment, lock the glove compartment, lock it, go back shopping, maybe someplace else, maybe in the same store. But be polite. Now, red flag law. I was red flagged, but I will get to that law next time. Transgender. Transgender, I think it's going to go to the US Supreme Court, this one. Mental defect. Mental defect, no, you cannot have a carry permit. Or you cannot carry the gun if you have mental defect. And it's, by the way, it's in the laws. Look them up yourself, mental defect. So that's the way it's phrased. So transgender and mental defect, I think this one is going to go to the Supreme Court of the United States. Red flag. I was red flagged, actually. What happened? My neighbor actually reported that I robbed him. The problem was that I was not even present. Matter of fact, I was in a doctor's office. So what happened? He calls up the New York City Police Department that I robbed him. His father is a prominent hotshot. I won't mention his rank. Above the sergeant. So, when he red flagged me, and I was not even home, the police department came out. I mean, they ransacked almost the whole house. They turned it upside down. And he's actually laughing outside, downstairs, and my father's showing the police officer, look, he's laughing. This has not happened. Now, I had a whole bunch of guns in the house, and I had a whole bunch of trophies. I had 62 trophies, which I donated to the museum. I will be doing a video on that one. So, and I hope to do that video outside on my backyard, in my sanctuary backyard, which I like very much. Just turn everything off. I do a lot of reading and work on the backyard. So I was red flagged then for armed robbery in New York City. This is in Queens, Jackson Heights, New York. 110th precinct. It's on Norton Boulevard, a couple of blocks. It's on 95th Street, I think on 90th Street, the 110th precinct, and I was on the 71st. I mean, you had approximately about 15, 20 police officers just went through the house. So it became absolutely nothing of it. So this is basically what you have to worry about in a self-defense shooting. And if you have insurance, all right, usually in Manhattan, it can cost up to about $300,000 a trial. Wow. And the DA, even if the DA is sure that you use proper self-defense techniques and you are in your right, they might even take it on purpose to court. Because don't forget, the DA can, what? Indict a ham sandwich. Well, now, we had a ham sandwich being thrown at the ICE agent. He wasn't indicted. Well, but that's a separate issue. So, be careful. If your life is in imminent danger, yes, absolutely correct. Now, if you see somebody else in a dangerous situation, a felony, whether or not you want to interfere or not, that's a separate issue, separate case. But be careful, make sure that is you come first. Remember one thing, it's better be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Thank you very much for listening. Have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you again.